Hey yo, this is ShadowRock, and today I'm going to answer some of the questions the viewers submitted for the 4th anniversary interview video. Hooray! So without further ado, let's get on with the questions, shall we? Question uno. What is your entire history with the Mega Man series? Well, it's going to be a long story, but I'll try to sum it up as best as I can. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, I was still a toddler, maybe 4 or 5 years old in the late 90s. The Super Nintendo was still pretty popular at the time, and my uncle, who's a gamer himself, introduced me to the Nintendo Entertainment System, or NES for short, with games like Super Smash Bros., Duck Hunt, but most importantly, Mega Man 3. As far as I can remember, Mega Man 3 was the very first Mega Man game I ever played, and is still one of my favorite classic series games to this day. On the Super Nintendo, I enjoyed such games such as Super Mario World, The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, and more. I had my own Super Nintendo at home too, which I would play games like Star Fox and Making Mania. Good times. I never beat any of them though, since obviously I was just a small child. My uncle also had a copy of Mega Man X for the Super Nintendo, which as you also know, it is pretty darn awesome. So that was my first taste of the X series for you. However, even though I had played Mega Man games back then, was I really a fan? I enjoyed all the games I played in general, but I wasn't really a die-hard fan for any particular video game series to my knowledge. But that was soon changed. In the year 2001, Mega Man X5 for the PlayStation was released in North America, and my uncle had bought the game to try out. I still remember that fateful day where we sat down in the front living area and popped in the game. I was the first one that got to play, and I fell in love on the first level. When the selection screen came up, I went with Mega Man X. To be honest though, on my first playthrough I had forgotten some of the basics of the game, like how to charge up your buster. So I went through the whole intro stage just tapping the fire button and never charging up my shots. That went on for a while until we got to the first stage's boss, Sigma's head. I was kind of freaked out the first time I saw Sigma. I was like, did he just come out of that statue? That's when my uncle took over. I still remember him saying, I see the pattern. At that time I looked at the clouds above X and thought I saw a cloud that looked like a face. Weird. After a little bit, he started using the charge shot against Sigma. I was literally blown away. Mind equals blown. Whoa, how would you do that? I was saying. After the defeat of Sigma, we sat through the long and drawn out cutscenes with a lot of text. Learned about the time limit system and all that jazz. Then we played Dr. Ezekiel's stage and got to try out Zero for the first time. After that initial playthrough, I was totally hooked. Whenever I got to come over to my uncle's house, I'd always play X5 no matter what. I even brought my own memory card over from home to save my data. I remember one time I asked, is it okay if I use my memory card to save? He was like, dude, it's your memory card. I played the game so much that he eventually just said, here, just take the game, I don't play it much anyway. He does that a lot, by the way. Mega Man X5 was the first Mega Man game I've ever beat, and it will always hold a place in my heart as the game that got me into the fandom. Over the next couple years, I got hold of my copies of games like Mega Man 8 and Mega Man X4. Funny story, actually, when I went to buy X4 from the local gaming and card shop, at the time I thought the X in Mega Man X meant 10, like some people did when the series first came out for the Super Nintendo. So I asked, yeah, can I get Mega Man 14? And the guy was like, what? You mean X4, right? So, yeah. 8 and X4 ended up becoming other favorites of mine that I played frequently. I also picked up Mega Man X6 when it first came out. Even though it was weird and pretty difficult, I got some enjoyment out of it too. A couple more years passed, and the Mega Man Battle Network series had hit the scene. Now at first I was really skeptical at the Battle Network series. I thought that it looked kinda stupid and wouldn't live up to my favorite games like X5. However, when I finally got my first Game Boy Advance, I got a used copy of Mega Man Battle Network 1. And I don't know if I just didn't read the tutorials right or skipped them, but at first I had the same problem I did with X5, except this time, I didn't know what to do with battle chips. I always used my buster to fight viruses at first, which took forever, obviously. But when I got up to the first boss fight with Fireman, I finally learned that you had to press A to use chips. Once I figured that out, I actually did start to get really hooked with the series once I realized how awesome the gameplay was. I even started to watch the Mega Man Entry Warrior anime that came out every Saturday morning on Kids WB. So throughout the rest of my elementary and intermediate school years, I grew up playing all the rest of the Battle Network series while watching NT Warrior and later Access when that aired. I still remember the commercial where they said that they were only doing Access because so many fans had rolled into them asking for Mega Man to come back. That's some dedicated fans for you. I'm still disappointed they never dubbed the rest of the series though. Eventually, once the Battle Network series concluded with 6, the Star Force series came out, which was really fun as well. Although the Battle Network series was overall more enjoyable in my opinion. Around the time Star Force 1 came out, or a little after that, was when I started making videos for YouTube and eventually realized my passion for video making. So in a way, I also have Mega Man to thank for who I am today and influencing my career choice. Question Dogs. What do you do in your off time? Basically, doing ShadowRock videos and other types of videos, playing video games, surfing the web, hanging out with family and friends, and more is basically my off time. Question Dread. Will you do a playthrough for the Mega Man X game? What do you mean? I've already done playthroughs for Mega Man X1 through X4. Eventually I plan to do Zero's side of X4 and the rest of the games, because as I've said before, X is my favorite series by far. Question Quattro. What is your favorite game? That is hard to answer because there's so many games that I like, but probably the one game I always play every once in a while when I'm bored more than any other game is Mega Man X for the SNES. It's just too good of a game and a great game to just pick up and play. Otherwise, I find myself sticking towards the more retro side of gaming. I tend to spend more time with the older games I've grown up with recently than the newest games that are coming out. I do enjoy some of the series from the newer generation of games though, like Mass Effect, Assassin's Creed, Borderlands, and Portal, and some other ones. On the more retro side of things, I like a lot of the Nintendo franchises like Mario, The Legend of Zelda, Star Fox, Kirby, Metroid, Pokemon, and a lot more. Also, of course, Mega Man. Question 5. Where were you born and currently living? Wow, somebody's a stalker. Question 6. Does your name derive from the character Dark Mega? The name ShadowRock was basically put together by taking Mega Man's Japanese name, which is Rockman, taking out man and putting shadow in front of it. Now you have ShadowRock. Question 7. Would you play a Kirby game? I've played quite a few Kirby games in my time and I do enjoy the series, so yes I would. Also, while we're on the topic of games I played or haven't played, somebody sent me a list of games he wants to know if I played or not. So the first one is Toho Danmaku, or a shoot 'em up game. I played shoot 'em up games but not the Toho series, whatever it is. Pokemon Soul Silver. I played all the Pokemon games. And actually Pokemon Silver and Gold were part of my childhood, along with Mega Man, so of course. Smash Brothers, yep. Any kind of game like the above, yep. The last one is Toho Scarlet Leather something fighting version. No, I haven't. And lastly, there is, do you have a console? Well, duh. Question 8. Can you make a Let's Play for a Digimon Game Boy Advance game? The only Digimon game I've ever really played was the PlayStation game where you train your own Digimon, and if you let them poop on the ground, they will digivolve into some green slime monster that likes to eat its own poop. So I probably won't do a Digimon game for the Game Boy Advance, unless I play it first. Question 9. When will Rise of the Shadows and ShadowRock patch return? When Half-Life 3 is released. No, just kidding. Right now we are working on the script for Rise of the Shadows episode 12. I say as of the time of this recording it's about 40% done or so. We're still working on it. I did say earlier that I wanted to get the episode out by the 20th of this month, which would be Rise of the Shadows 4th anniversary, but I'll probably have to postpone that date because making this episode has proven to take a lot longer than I expected. I don't have any footage to show yet since it is still in the pre-production stages, but from the looks of the ideas we put together so far, it may very well be one of the longest episodes we've made yet. So I hope y'all will look forward to it. Maybe pretty soon I'll have something to show for a trailer or something. As for the ShadowRock patch, usually I base each patch release off of the things that were added for each of the episodes. So maybe when we start getting the episodes turning out again, there will be more patch releases. Question to Yez. How do you feel about your channel progress and growth, and your YouTube life? I think that the channel has come a long way since when I first started out. I believe I've talked about the old channel I used to have before ShadowRock ever existed, which was called Your Father 512. Don't laugh, it was a Star Wars reference. Okay, you may laugh. Anyway, on that channel, in about a year's worth of time I think, the channel only got about 45 subscribers before it got shut down by YouTube for copyright issues. Because back then I would make a lot of AMVs using Mega Man anime clips and songs from various bands. When that channel was down, I came up with the name ShadowRock and opened up the channel that you know as today. When it first started, I made a lot of mediocre videos, at least compared to today's standards. I always look back at them and think, wow, I really sucked back then, didn't I? Nowadays I would never put out that kind of stuff. However, it does show progress. Not only did the channel grow, but my skills as a video editor and my overall production standards have gone up over the years, which is a good thing. Back then 4 years ago, I would have never imagined that ShadowRock would come this far, that the channel would actually have its fan base, and I especially would have never imagined that I could make it to the YouTube gaming partner status. The only thing I suppose I would have done different is listen to what the viewers want more often. Since the beginning, ShadowRock has obviously been always a Mega Man channel, but a few times I had started to move away from that because I wanted to do playthroughs or let's plays or other different things. While it didn't turn out too bad, it was noticeable, as with a lot of channels that usually stick to one thing, that when I started to upload things that don't have much to do with Mega Man, people tend not to watch it as much because that isn't why they subscribe to the channel. So it is hard sometimes to balance that out, what I want to do with my uploads and what people really want to see. The other day I was discussing with some friends on whether I should appeal to the strong Mega Man fan base on my channel and start to transition to a gaming channel that only covers Mega Man, or keep it the way it is right now. But in the end, I still think a little variety doesn't hurt, so I don't think I'll change much. As a matter of fact, to anyone that's still listening, I would like to hear your feedback on what you would like to see more out of the channel in the future. In conclusion though, overall my time on YouTube has been a great experience. I'm not a big phenomenon with millions of subscribers, but I'm happy with where I'm at. After all, the smaller fan base allows me to be more personal with my interactions with everyone, which is very important to me. I've not only made fans, but I've also made friends, and lots of them. You guys are the reason I've got this far, and I like to think of it as a team effort that we've all got this channel to where it is now. So I thank each and every one of you for your support and sticking with me through thick and thin over the last 4 years. It's been a wild ride. I hope the channel will continue to grow over the coming years, or however long YouTube lasts, and we will have more fun memories together in the future. And with that marks the end of this interview type thing. Thanks for the questions, I had fun answering them, and I'll see you guys in the next video. This is ShadowRock signing out. Rock on, everybody.